Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Richie Thomas, the Soldiers Coach. Thank you for checking out this awesome strategy and video entitled Basic Business Training. That's right, Basic Business Training is an acronym, of course, for the business and strategy involved in commerce, right? So think of it as a boot camp for my folks who are getting ready to transition out of the military. I don't care whether you've been in the military 5 years, 10 years, or 25 years, and maybe you're getting ready to get out here in the next 6 months, or maybe if you've already been out 6 months, or maybe you've already been out 6 years, and maybe you've been out 16 years. It is a very, very hard transition, not just physically, but most importantly, mentally, emotionally, because soldiers are trained for the combat battlefield, and we are not trained for the economic battlefield. So I wanted to put together a training to address some of our high-level issues for all of my folks who have transitioned out of the military. So even if you're not a veteran, maybe you have one veteran and your friends, family, the group text, whatnot, send this training to them, because I promise you they will get something from it. And I am on a mission to help as many soldiers as I can mentally transition from a soldier's mindset to a business professional's mindset. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I like to get straight to it. But my first and second and third point here is you are not just a business professional, but you are a senior business professional. Honestly, you're an expert, really. You're an expert at something. I don't care if you've been doing it, I want to say at least a year, 5 years, 10 years. If you got some level of expertise, if you've been doing something on 364 days, you know more than the rest of the world who is not in that field. So you have to carry yourself like you are a senior business leader. That's how I want you to carry yourself. You're not an intern, the volunteer who's fresh off the block. I want you to carry yourself at a different level. Soldiers struggle from unemployment at a rampant rate, and a lot of them transition out of the military, of the army, and they go into the army of the unemployed. And I'm really on a mission just to change mindset, but to change their vision. So the best way to change their mindset is to change their vision. And the best way to do that is to change your elevation. I want you to change the next level of your life and the way and the structure that you see yourself. So I would walk into a business or a building. You have to see yourself as you own that one day, because the reality is you're going to either work for a business or you're going to own one. So why not carry yourself like a senior business professional? I was, even my young IT days, I was like, one day I was going to be a CIO. One day I was going to be CTO. So if I had to dress the part, overdress, dress for the job you want, not for the job you have. Old advice, but still real, right? So I want you to carry yourself like you are a senior business leader, like you are not just in finance department, but one day you're going to be the CFO. You're not just in the marketing department. One day you're the chief marketing officer. You start thinking like that now, carrying yourself like that now. Your resume, your LinkedIn profile, write it as if you are a C-suite executive. You're going to be on the way up, right? But we draft people in the NBA draft and the NFL draft, not for who they are today, who they're going to grow into. I'm a big Luka Doncic fan. That boy is a dog. But one day, Luka's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's probably going to win 2 or 3 championships and 2 or 3 MVPs. We can see who he's growing into. I need you to make that transition for yourself. I want to know who you are growing into. So I want you to carry yourself at that next level, that not just you work there. I want you to see yourself like you own there, like your name is on the side of the building, like your name is endorsing that somebody else's paycheck, right? I want you to carry yourself like you are a senior business leader, not just a business professional, but that you are the subject matter expert. I had been in IT after I transitioned out, and it was a very, very rough transition. I was unemployed. Don't tell nobody. I was unemployed for a year and a half, okay? I went from the active duty army to the army of the unemployed. And for being unemployed for that long, it scarred me. I got some battle wounds, y'all. But even 2021, I went on 49 interviews. 49. It's only 52 weeks in a year. So basically, I went on one interview per week because I didn't sell myself at that current level. I sold up where I was going, future VP, future CIO. And so people want what's that next level, that next spike, or what your potential could be. So I need you to mentally transition from saying yourself and selling yourself and branding yourself in the marketplace as a soldier to seeing yourself and selling yourself and branding yourself as a senior business leader. Because the reality is you're an expert at something. You got to work for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Even if you're not an expert today, you're going to be an expert tomorrow. Eventually, you're going to get there. So By the time you get 10 years, you should be able to write a book on your field. I don't care who you are, electrician, plumber, brick mason, I don't care. You should be able to write a book. It really just takes about 30 days to train the job. After 90 days, you stop shadowing, you're off probation or error, whatnot. But it's like by 6 months, you know what you're doing. I don't need to check in. By a year, you're training somebody else. And after the second year, what are we really doing? Yeah, after the second year, you need to not just be studying your department. You should be looking at other fields. Like, what is HR doing? Do I know if could I go work in the marketing field, or could I go work in finance? Because I want to understand the business collectively and not just my job, but I want to have a vision for the business collectively, right? A business sells a product or a service in exchange for money. So I need to know how the products and the services are developed from top to bottom, like the senior leadership typically does. So I need you to see yourself as a senior business leader. And the next point here is study business like a CEO, because you are one. I said this on my last video if you checked it out, but I'm going to say it again because it's so nice. I got to say it twice. You are a CEO. You are a CEO. You are a CEO of your own career. I need you to start studying business books. I need you to jump on those business podcasts. My goal was to go to one business conference a month, and I did that. One business conference, either it was virtual. I was signed up for the recordings. If I couldn't make the virtual, I just wanted to get the replays. I was going to business conferences quarterly. I didn't care who it was. John Maxwell, Tony Robbins, Dr. Eric Thomas. I wanted to be in that room because I was carrying myself, because I knew that one day I wanted to own a business, because you're either going to work for a business or own one. So my whole thing is, what's the highest ROI? If I got to work 8 hours and 40 hours a week, why not get the most return from that? Like $40,000 is cool. Like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But if you live in America, folks, it is hard to make it off that. I was like, well, the CEO is making 240,000. What is he or she doing that I'm not doing? So I started studying what they were doing, because when you looked at the salary sheets, I was like, I don't understand. We both work the same 8 hours. What is the difference? So I began to study their moves. Again, what was their thinking? Did I need to go back to school? What certifications do they have? But I wanted to carry myself like a C-suite executive, because I wanted to be one. Because if I got to clock in like Fred Flintstone, like, what's the highest paycheck I can get in return for that? Even when I was in the military, one weekend I was like, hey, what's the highest rank? Okay, 1-star general. Cool. I'm going to get that in about 5 or 6 years. 18. It's like the worst age ever. It's like, everything and nothing at the exact same time. But I need you to study business like a CEO. I was like, hey, if I got to put the uniform on, I want the highest paycheck that comes back with that, right? That's always been my mindset. But I invite you to study business like a CEO. This is not a short-term thing. This is a permanent change. I need you to carry yourself like you are the CEO of your own career, because the reality is you are. That's beyond important, right? Next one here is study competition and really your market. I like to look to my left and look to my right, look at other people who are slightly ahead of me. What are they doing? It's like going to the gym. I see one person jogging, one person slightly walking, and homegirl's doing 8.0 on her speed. I'm trying to keep up, because that challenge, that competition, it brings that dog out of you. But you have to study competition. So I was looking up people's resumes and their profiles on LinkedIn, because I wanted to know how they were seeing themselves and how they were selling themselves and branding themselves to the marketplace. There was no job in IT I couldn't do. I just realized I wasn't marketing myself for that skill set. So when I looked at my LinkedIn profile versus their LinkedIn profile, I was like, one of these things is not like the other. And I couldn't get over the language that they were using in their LinkedIn profile, the language they were using in their resume, how they carried themselves. I would go to a conference and be like, why am I not on the stage? Why am I not a panelist, a subject matter expert? I've been in the field for 10 years. I think I know a little something. Don't ask me nothing about Active Directory, though. I still can't figure that out, but don't tell nobody. But I was studying my competition, because I wanted to know what they were doing that I wasn't. No different. I'm a big sports guy. So, if Tatum and Boston Celtics can't get it done, I'm sure he studied under somebody else. He studied under LeBron. He studied under Durant to kind of figure out what they were doing. So I need you to study your competition, but also the market collectively. So even if I wanted to become a CIO, I was curious what the CFO was doing or what the CMO was doing. I wanted to know what the senior leadership was doing, not just in my business, but our competitors' business. I would look up Again, really, really how they branded themselves on. I know LinkedIn's not always sexy, but I loved it because that's where all the recruiters were. That's where all the money was. We can talk all that talk on Instagram, but let's be real. Recruiters and jobs were coming digital. They ain't posting no jobs on Instagram, y'all. So that's why I got so heavy on studying competition and the market. What was the market looking for? Now we have AI emerging. If you're trying to get in IT, what keywords are you putting on your resume and your LinkedIn profile that are going to show that you are a subject matter expert in that field? But you have to do that through studying competition, studying people who have a platform that works. People fail without a framework and they struggle without a system. So I wanted to study people's frameworks and people's structure that I didn't have, specifically in the market, right? Or in my market. Next up, do you solve six-figure problems? Oh, Lord. Right? There's one thing, I'll give you an example. One of the worst things to hear as a homeowner is when you walk through the doors that drip, 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 drip. If you hear water, not running water, but if you hear water dripping, everybody collectively clenches their fists. It's like, oh my God, what is it? Because that is the worst sound to hear because water ruins everything. It's coming from the roof. Is it coming from the sink? Is it coming from the toilet? It's going to ruin the carpet. It's going to get, drywall, can cause electrical damage if it's been sitting there for a while and flooding up your basement. One of my favorite episodes of The Simpsons, right? But that damage, it could be massive. I had a leak one time in my garage. It was $4,000, $4,000 to fix a leak. And I was looking on YouTube, and YouTube could not save me that day. But I showed up, called the expert, and he fixed it in about 5 minutes, or at least identified the issue. But he said the long-term solution is we got to dig up some plumbing. It was underground through my sprinkler system. And was $4,000. And I was like, oh, Lord. I mean, had he not caught it, double, triple, God knows how much additional damage it could have caused. I was willing to pay $4,000, but it's like, think of that as if I was going out there trying to patch it myself, Mr. Fix It, right? Mr. Plow, just try to throw some Band-Aid on it. It's like, that wasn't working. I need you to think about the problems in your business, in your department. Do you solve problems just on your team? Are your problems and your solutions to those problems that you solve felt at the next tax bracket level, at the next, are they felt outside of your department? Are they felt outside of your business? Your problem solving skills reach beyond the business you work for? Like, are you recruited through the competitor? Are your problems, is your experience, is your knowledge, skills, and experience felt throughout your business top to bottom? If I have a problem, I can solve it. Everyone in the company needs to know you are that person who can solve it. So do you solve six-figure problems at the highest level? If I was a mechanic, Honda mechanics are great because I guess everybody's got a Honda. It's like, I want to go be a mechanic who fixes Rolls Royces or Lamborghinis. I want to fix the most expensive car because I know it's like, there's only so many of those at that level. I can be a mechanic for a Toyota and again, a regular everyday car. But it's like, man, if I could be a mechanic at the next level, an airplane mechanic. That's the way I'm thinking. I want you to solve problems at the next tax bracket level. Again, I'm looking at Fortune 500 companies. They're all structured the same. If you were to walk in there, you talk to the CEO, you got your, 30-second elevator pitch. What are you selling them? You get paid to manage a problem or you get paid to solve a problem. So what six-figure problem are you solving? And again, we know that, Jeff Bezos and Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, love them, hate them, it's irrelevant. They're billionaires because they solved global problems. Social media has connected the world. Amazon has solved a logistics problems that the United States Postal Service hasn't solved in 100 years. And Amazon, you order something at breakfast, let's say by lunchtime, right? Give that man his credit. Don't argue his business practices. But he is who he is, and they all are because they're billionaires because they solve global problems. It's problems that everyone has just outside, not just outside their area code, not outside their zip code. It's problems throughout the city, throughout the state, throughout the country, coast to coast. And remember, the world's a lot bigger than America. So I'm thinking about the problems that you solve, how many people are impacted. I like to call it a cone of service. Taylor Swift is Taylor Swift. Love her or hate her, she's got her own demographic. It's cool. I'm not in it. But People impacted by her skill set are millions, not just followers. But when she gets on stage, I live in Atlanta, she's got 80,000 people to go see her at the Falcon Stadium, and her shows are so in demand, they have to add a second night and a third night. I mean, we're talking 160, 170,000 people potentially see you in 72 hours because she's solving an entertainment problem. There's an entertainment gap. So how many people are in your cone of service? The more people you serve, the more money you make, right? So do you solve six-figure problems? The next one here is, how does the market see you? This is probably one of my favorite pieces, because what fascinates me is, digital fingerprints, your reputation. How do people find you? Are you regularly seen at the six-figure, seven-figure table? Do you have a reputation or a digital brand? I know brilliant, brilliant people, and you can't find them. Like, we just so happen to work together. Maybe they got the job through whoever connection, but it's like no one outside the job knows who they are because they're hiding their genius in plain sight. I like to call it the silent genius. Like, you have to show them who you are. You have to show up. You have to be okay with marketing yourself, because if you don't market you, no one markets you. And then again, in soldiers, we're trained for combat. We're not trained for commerce. And the big thing with Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100, it doesn't matter. They market themselves unbelievably well. I'm asking you how you tell the world who you are. How does the market see you? Are you seen in IT? I was real funny. I don't do printers. I'm not here. I don't work for Best Buy. That was my thing. I don't work for Geek Squad. I wasn't here break fix. I was here to be a technology business partner. I wasn't here to fix your printers. And I would tell them, I kind of reflected that on my LinkedIn and on my resume. So how does the market see you? Are you just seen as, a regular 9 to 5? How do you sell yourself? How do you brand yourself on LinkedIn? Again, I would position myself, my resume and my profile, as if I was going to be in the C-suite one day, because I knew I was. So how does the market see you? Very, very important. So again, my folks on Facebook, Instagram, whatever platform, I like to keep all my social media professional, because I've been in rooms where HR will Google somebody's Facebook page and not hire them because of what they saw. That is beyond important. It's not fair. You can argue me in the comments all you want to. I'm not telling you what's okay. I'm telling you what people do. And I've seen it. Digital fingerprints and your reputation, it matters immensely, right? How does the next one is, how does the market find you? I will argue this to the mountaintops. They say that 84% of jobs are actually found through networking, word of mouth, someone that you know somebody who knows somebody, like it or love it, is real. But more importantly, a lot of the jobs, almost all are digital. There's all electronic applications now. LinkedIn, LinkedIn, LinkedIn. I will forever die on that hill. But how does the market find you? A lot of times, y'all got to understand, when recruiters and job posters, when they go on LinkedIn, they're searching for a specific keyword, an IT director who has X, Y, Z skill set, this much education. Most people not even on LinkedIn, or their LinkedIn's on there, it's 90% empty, it's 50% vacant. You haven't updated projects, applications, anything that you've worked on that next level. How do you expect them to know you can do that when you don't advertise that you do that? Dramatic pause. Like, what are we thinking? How do you expect these people? Well, I'm going to submit my resume with the 500 other people who submitted. I mean, do you go to their career fair events? Do you go to the events in person? Do we meet and greet? Do we have lunch with recruiters? I used to have lunch with recruiters. I have at least 10 recruiters in my network on LinkedIn who I've met face to face, shake hands, bro hug, whatever. Like, I was really trying to develop relationships, because that way recruiters, when they were out there looking for people to fill, I was top of mind, because I made an effort to be in front of their face. Where you going? Wherever you are, I'm at, right? I was emailing, I was phone calling. I wanted them to find me, because I knew when they were looking for an IT, whatever professional, I wanted my LinkedIn profile be top of mind. So how does the market find you? A lot of you guys are brilliant, 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 but no one knows it because they can't find you. Resume hasn't been updated in forever. You're not on LinkedIn. You don't go to events. You don't network, and it's a nightmare. So how does the market see you? More importantly, how does the market find you? The basics of business. If I say soda, there's one brand that comes to your mind. If I say sneakers, there's one brand that comes to your mind. If I say cell phone, there's one brand that comes to your mind. The reason it's It's Nike. The reason that it's Coca-Cola, the reason that it's Apple, because they have marketed themselves the best in the world. It wasn't always like that. Nike is not the only sneaker company in the world. I think Adidas had like an 80-year, or excuse me, like a 20, 30-year head start. I think Adidas came out in the 1930s. But how did Nike catch them in terms of marketing? Why did Coca-Cola them? Think of all the sodas that are out there. Why is Coca-Cola top of mind? They weren't the first soda, but how come they've done a phenomenal job of telling the world that their soda is the best? How is Apple, anybody in Asia watching this, in Japan, they have some phenomenal electronics, run circles around Apple, but we don't know them. I mean, Apple's done a phenomenal job of telling the world who they are unapologetically. So how does the market find you? If you were Apple, if you were a Disney movie, how would you promote yourself? All right. If you don't promote yourself, if you don't market yourself, no one else will. And that was a tough, tough pill to swallow as a soldier, because I often realized that soldiers, again, were trained for combat and not commerce. But I didn't understand, if you didn't market you, no one will. Right. So next one here, very similar. It's network, network, network. I would invite y'all to go out to twice a week. You need to be physically out somewhere, marketing yourself, networking, meeting with people. I know introverts, I mean, it's gotten worse since COVID, right? It's hard, socially awkward, but go to where you're comfortable. If you're in school, I go to the alumni events, especially like the fun meetups. If they're having a baseball meetup at the Braves Stadium, or if they're having, a taste test at the beer factory, whatever, they're having fun events. Go to the fun ones. Those are really, really cool, because everybody drops their guard. Now we can shake. Now we can, bro hug, whatever. Now the guard is dropped. Now we're just two people chilling. I would tell the younger ones, when's the last time you've been to Chamber of Commerce, if ever? I guarantee you it ain't crowded. Go there, make an impression, face to face, meet and greet with some folks, network, network, network. I'm telling y'all, I think it's like 84% of jobs are found through physical relationships, like someone right? Someone you went to school with, someone you was in high school with, military, whatever. It's always who you know, like, and trust. If you're not networking, how do they get to know you? How do they get to like you? How do they get to trust you? If you got to volunteer somewhere, like whatever you got to do to get in front of a hiring manager, recruiter, I always network, network, network. I mean, you have to show them who you are. Another way good to do that is building in public. I'm a big advocate. Again, I live on LinkedIn because that's where all the jobs were. So it's like, if you're awesome at what you do, show them, build in public. Like if I would do a podcast or a monthly training on, again, I'm an IT person. So I was like, do a whiteboard session on how to implement AWS, do a whiteboard session on my strategy for how I would upgrade their software, do a whiteboard session on how you could do XYZ in your field. You have to showcase your skill set, because a lot of you guys, it's a silent genius, the unemployed PhD. You're brilliant, but no one knows it. Like, I know you're dope. Your mama knows you're dope. The world don't know you're dope because you don't tell the world. You don't market. The market can't find you. The market can't see you, and you don't network. So kind of like my coach said, if the market can't find you, how can the market pay you? It's one of the smartest things I've ever heard. Right. And the next one here is experience trumps education. I am all about education. I never, ever knock it. But I also kind of alluded to, we've got probably one in every family, one in every friend group, that the egghead nerd who's always got an issue holding down a job, the smartest person in the room who's never employed. Come on now. But it's like we can read books all day, but do you have the experience to build? Do you have experience to implement? Unfortunately, you cannot have a career in the classroom unless you're an educator. Shout out to my educators. But a lot of us, we sell education like it's the only thing. And the reality is, in business, like, you have to have the experience building something. You are, again, a business provides a product or a service in exchange for money. Education is not in that formula, right? It's important, but it's not the end all be all. Experience. Do you have experience doing the thing? So when I say basic business training, again, it's the business and structure and science involved in commerce. Where is the experience in that for you? Like, what experience do you have to do XYZ? I had a lot of hard time getting in IT because I was selling war stories. I was selling, things I have a degree in XYZ, but it's like, cool. Can you get paid to manage a problem, or you get paid to solve a problem, but you're not marketing that you do either. So Why should they hire you? We don't know who you are. Just because you was in Iraq or just because you was in Afghanistan, we're not going to hire you because you guilt trip us. That was a very, very powerful, painful lesson that I learned. So again, your experience trumps all. Your experience and how you impact a business is of the utmost importance. You have to show them that you're going to either help them make more money, or save time, because time is money, right? And experience is the best way. My experience is just, again, 49 interviews in 1 year, right? And then lastly here is study wealth. And I know a lot of people, it's kind of like the buzzword and podcasts and mindset and all that good stuff. But the reality is that businesses run on money. And no money, no business. I have been in businesses where they were almost bankrupt and the lights were almost shut off. And I've been in business where, they're sending everybody to Hawaii on their annual retreat, right? Because they all about the dollar, the dollar, the dollar. And when I transitioned out of the military, I didn't know anything about money. I didn't know, I know I spoke English, some people spoke Spanish, but I didn't understand that business speaks finances. And so studying money, studying how a business earns it and builds. I was worth a business who owned almost 2 city blocks of commercial real estate. I mean, they were killing it financially. So when they could flip a block, if you will, and make a bunch of money in that aspect, I didn't know anything about that. So I just wanted to be a fly on the wall and understand the business conversations that were going on at that next tax level. I mean, these guys were talking about $1 billion in commercial real estate. I was just the IT guy, just happy to be in the room, but I didn't understand what they were talking about. So I'm going home again on podcasts, books, conferences, started to study money, study finances, study corporate language, which was always about the dollar. It was a very, very powerful lesson. I will forever die on this hill. The soldiers are trained for the combat battlefield, but we're not trained for the economic battlefield. And we are almost set up for failure because of that. So you have to always invite people, try to just listen, audiobooks, 2 books a month if you can, just on wealth and finance for corporate America. That'll be the big game changer for when you apply for jobs, because you understand you're not begging for a job out of, because I was a veteran, but you were telling them that you understand how to impact their bottom line. That was a night and day for me in terms of career, because I wasn't just selling IT guy. I was selling potential business partner who could impact their bottom line. Shout out to Dr. Dennis Kimbrough from Clark, Atlanta, who taught me that one. It was an absolute end all be all for me. And the last one here is entrepreneurship. I am of the belief that experience is really the best educator. So I think that the best way for you guys to understand business is to start one. I don't care what it is. Go sell ice pops. Go sell flowers on the street corner. I don't care. I want you to understand all elements of business by doing it. So understand why marketing is important, understanding how sales works, customer relationships, logistics. Hey, online store, I don't care. I mean, Shopify has an online university where they walk you through how to actually implement something, because from the ground up. And I think it's incredible, because I wish I had done that when I transitioned out of the military, but I didn't know anything about that, because again, my focus was training on combat, not commerce. No one told me we were in this battle of business. So I was like, man, I was really set up for failure. So a couple of years ago, and I jumped into rental properties, because I just wanted to know kind of the basics of business, how it works. How do I sell it? How do I fill it? How to fix or flip it or renovate it? It didn't matter. I just wanted to, I wanted some war wounds. I wanted to know how to do that, because I realized that there was no such thing as job security. And so since I didn't own anything, I wanted to have something with my name on it. I thought that was very, very important. So I beg a lot of people, before y'all transition out of the military, give me something online. Go to LegalZoom, get you an LLC, mymamasname.com. I don't care. The name is irrelevant. I want you to get the experience of starting something for the ground up. Try to make $100 online. Try to make $1,000 in person. I just want you to have the real MBA is implementing a business. Right. I want you to try to start something. Think about what your skill set is. You're applying for a huge mindset shift for me was, I was in Atlanta, I was at a conference and Google was there, and I was like, man, I can't wait to get a job with Google. And this young lady said, why do you want to work for Google? I was like, that's a dumb question. It's Google. And she said, well, why don't you try to build your own Google? And I never thought on that level. I never thought that I could build something on that level. I was asking for a seat at the table versus she was saying, build your own table. So I invite you guys watching this, guys and gals, to build your own table through entrepreneurship. I think that is the utmost importance. And bonus here is, again, it's kind of been the big buzzword, but I think it's very, very real. I'm every bit of 41. I got my first gray hair here. But it's the whole multiple streams of income. I have been let go 3 different times. I've been part of a merger acquisition. I've been nonprofits that lost their grant funding. I've been reorged, so they say. But the reality is you don't own that job. The company does. I once saw a guy, I have a cousin named Craig, and he got fired on his day off for stealing boxes. True story. It's the craziest story. He's got this other cousin, Day Day. I told him they should make a movie out of it. It's insane. But Craig got fired on his day off. It's like, dude, you're never safe at your job. So if you do not establish multiple checks coming in your home, it's very, very hard out here to survive off of one income. They fired a guy named Papa John who started a pizza business called Papa John's. It was one of the biggest pizza companies in the world. They fired him, not saying he didn't deserve it, but his face, name, image, and likeness was still on the box. And they fired this man from his own company. I thought it was hilarious. Again, not saying he didn't deserve it, but you have to think about even somebody who's a multi-millionaire. The late, great Steve Jobs got fired from Apple. I think he got fired twice, if I'm not mistaken. But even though you have something, it's like, man, multi-millionaire, I'm making 6 figures. I make 250 a year, 150. Yeah, you make that today. You might not make that tomorrow because that business is in the business of providing a product or a service in exchange for money. That business is not built to make you rich. That business is not built to give you job security. That's not what it is designed for. It's designed to build a product or a service in exchange for money. That's the formula. Where are you in that formula? You're a liability, right? That's just the cruel reality. So as someone who's learned through that and been through that, I always invite people, start something on the side, even if it's small, online. I don't care what it is, and even real estate. I don't care. Go buy a mobile home, something that's 10 grand, just to get your feet wet, get that fear out of the way, and just get into it and just establish something coming in. I don't care if it's Uber, Lyft on the side. I implore people, there is a nightmare coming economically in this country, and it is never going to be cheaper again. Rent's never going down. Y'all can march, protest all you want. This country is a capitalist country. It's not good. It's not bad. I'm just the weatherman telling you what it is. So I need you guys to try to establish, I invite you to establish multiple streams of income, again, because if we don't, we will be on a struggle bus. And if we learn nothing from COVID, help ain't coming. All right. This country is rough out here. So I implore you to do that before you transition out of the military. All right. So cool. So those were 10. I think I threw in a bonus or 2. Strategies of basic business training is the business and structure involved in commerce, basic business training. So if you'd like a little bit more in depth of that, we have an awesome online community called Military Transition University. Is the premier digital app to help our brave men and women in the United States military mentally transition from a soldier's mindset to a business professional's mindset so they can win the war on unemployment. And we try to help people find their next 6-figure career. So if you can check out the QR code or the link below here, Military Transition University, we have some awesome coaching courses, and more importantly, we have community. We can lean on each other. We can learn from each other. But it's a 12-week coaching program designed specifically for military transition folks. So whether you were in for 2 years, 12 years, or 22 years, or again, whether you're getting just ready to get out, or maybe you've already been out, it doesn't matter. I want you to guys go through it. I promise you can learn a little bit. It would never be a waste of your time. Education to me is of the utmost importance, and I want to save you guys some of the war wounds that I went through. All right, so check out that. And again, even if you weren't, send this to a veteran in your iPhone, if you will. All right, this is Richie Thomas, the Soldier's Coach, and I would tell you peace out, but the reality is most of y'all need peace in. Thank you.